Romans 8:28 says this, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." This verse is about God's sovereignty. That God is sovereign means that he's in control, that he's over all things, and that he's always at work for his purposes, for his glory, and for the good of his people. Sovereignty does not mean that God controls all things. There are things that God chooses not to control, like us, for example. God gave us free will so that we're able to make our own choices. Now, God could have made us without free will, like little sock puppets that always chose to love him, that always chose to do what he wanted and what was good and right. But if that's what God had done, then nothing that we did would ever be real, because we would have no choice in the matter. Instead, God chose to give us free will and therefore to give us real lives that actually matter, so that if and when we choose to love him, it's real. And if and when we choose to do what is good, well, that's real too. But the downside is also that when we choose to do what is wrong, that's real too. And the reality is that we often choose to do what is wrong. We sin and do things that are against God's will, and it does damage to us, to others, and to the world. But God's sovereignty means that nothing that happens can ever thwart his will. He truly is in control and over all things, and he is able to work in all things. He is even able to work through the lives of people who don't believe in him. He is even able to work through the bad things that happen in this life. And that's really one of the key promises of this verse. It's the promise that God is indeed at work in all things, even in the bad things that happen to us. God is at work using them for our good. And we can trust that God is always at work in that way in our lives. And all we have to do for that promise to be true for us is to put our faith in him.